Your 20s aren't about having everything figured out, but there are a few decisions that can completely ruin your trajectory. Most people don't even realize they're making these, and a lot of people say that your 20s or the times to just figure things out, to try stuff, to make mistakes, to don't worry too much. And yeah, that is partially true, but it is incomplete. Because your 20s are kinda weird. On one hand, you have a lot of freedom, but on the other, a few bad decisions can follow you for years and into your 30s, 40s, and some of them for the rest of your life. So the real goal in your 20s isn't to avoid mistakes, it's to avoid the kind of mistakes that actually set you back long term. I'm a huge advocate of trying things and experimenting, which I've done a lot even on this channel. But you don't want to be careless, because there are two ways people mess up their 20s, either slowly or all at once. And just to clarify, what I mean by slowly is that it's these small decisions that are repeated every single day that really affect which direction you're going in life. So that can be wasted evenings, avoiding discomfort, not building anything of your own. It doesn't feel like a problem until a few years pass and you look back and you realize you wasted so much time and you're at a place in life you don't want to be at. In terms of the all at once, one bad decision, such as legal trouble, debt, the wrong relationship, that can really hit you hard at once and take years to recover from. And I want to emphasize, before we get into the list, that this video isn't about being perfect, it's about avoiding the decisions that quietly ruin your trajectory. Because with the people I know in my life, I've seen both sides of this. People who have drifted into a life that they're not really happy with, they're depressed in their early 30s, and people who've made a few solid decisions that I'm honestly so impressed by and feel like they're a good competitor to the kind of ambitious goals I personally have. Started from roughly the same place, ended up in completely different places. So let's finally go through the worst decisions you can make in your 20s. Mistake number 10 is becoming dependent on alcohol, and we can actually extend this to drugs and adult content, any kind of thing that overstimulates you basically and is an escape from the real problem that you're trying to tackle. Alcohol specifically is something that doesn't ruin your life overnight. I used to drink a lot at university and also in high school, and to be honest, I used it a lot for social confidence and also to numb myself when I didn't feel good enough. I would feel on top of the world for a few hours. People would tell me, you have this alter ego, you're good at talking to people. When I was off the alcohol in my day-to-day life, I was a very anxious guy. I felt a lot of social anxiety, and alcohol just allowed me to escape that for a couple hours, to step into the person I wanted to become that I was not at least in my default state. And that gets addicting really, really quickly, because I felt freer, funnier, more confident. And that really messes you up, because then suddenly you have this dependency on alcohol in order to function at parties, at social gatherings, and it also drains your bank account. So there's a lot of detriment to actually depending on alcohol. The problem is not having a drink now and then, the problem is when it just becomes your default shortcut to feeling okay. Number 9 is ignoring what you actually want. This one is really sneaky, because you can look normal and successful on the outside, but on the inside feel like things are not going well, you're not going in the direction you want, and you feel kinda stuck. I was raised to be humble, to follow the normal path, to get a job, make money, and don't make too much noise. Don't be too ambitious out loud. But I always had this sense, since I was teenager in my early 20s. This was way before everyone was preaching this whole make money online thing and become an entrepreneur. This was not that popular back then. So I was seeking out these, I want to almost call them secret circles, where people were talking about this kind of stuff and also improving my dating life. I didn't talk with people about how I was actually practicing, like I was going out, and I wanted in the future to also build a business and probably leave the 9 to 5. People, they looked a bit weird towards me when I started talking about this stuff, because they were just in another world. So I had this very small circle that understood me, that I could talk about these things with, and now I'm finally living what I want. When I was 27, I had that kick-ass dating life that I wanted, dated multiple women, and was completely honest with people about that and the girls I dated. Now I have a girlfriend, I'm building a business, which I wanted back then. I did quit my 9 to 5. I'm not opposed to 9 to 5, by the way, but the point is, I'm really just following what I want at this point in life. This YouTube channel would have never started if I didn't just take the leap and share what I'd learned, share my insights, and do what I wanted, basically. Then we get to mistake number 8. Spending everything you earn. Where I often see this play out is the classic lifestyle inflation trap. And if you don't know this, the moment people start to earn more, their spending also tends to go up to match the more they earn. I've never really understood this, but I'll also say my parents have always taught me to see money as something very scarce and to save a lot. So I've never really been an advocate of this, but I'm just seeing it a lot around me. People wanting to buy expensive watches, people wanting to buy expensive music gear, people wanting the newest clothes. I personally am still buying the cheap t-shirts from Zara. All my phones are less than $500, and I don't know if you're in the US if that's actually an expensive phone, but my point is, like, an iPhone here in Denmark is, I think, nearing $2,000. I've never had an iPhone, have always bought the pretty cheap stuff, and that has allowed me to invest a lot of money in myself, in coaches, in programs, in books, in stocks as well, and I've right now saved up a lot of money. I have like 66% of my money is in stocks approximately, and the rest is just savings. And theoretically, if I were to do no work for the next year, I could live off my savings easily. So my point is, if you can avoid lifestyle inflation and spending the money as soon as you earn it, and spending more money as you earn more money, you can have a massive advantage when you get into your 30 compared to the people who fell into this lifestyle inflation trap. Then we get to mistake number 7, which is wasting your time every day. This is quite normalized these days, that people, they will spend a lot of time scrolling without really thinking much about it. They might just play a little bit of video games, which turns into 3 to 4 hours, or maybe just 1 hour a day, which also drains a lot of time. And there's the occasional 1 hour binge watching YouTube or Netflix. It all feels pretty harmless, right? But it adds up brutally over time. If you don't have a plan for how to spend your time tends to get eaten by these default behaviors. I have a very meticulous time block structure. I have put in these anchors for myself to make sure that I don't waste a bunch of time, because a lot of people, they also have this notion of the more time you put into something, the better, but it's more about the quality. Those 2 hours of business work is worth a lot more than 8 hours where I would not be very focused. So having these time blocks also forces me to be much more intentional with my time when I sit down to do the work. Because here's the thing, when you waste your time every day, you don't feel the damage today, or not even tomorrow, maybe a year from now, but a couple years from now, 5 years from now, you'll look back and you realize, God damn, I really wasted way too much time. That is what's happening with some of the people in their late 20s that I speak to on calls. They really feel the damage of wasted time now. Mistake number 6, choosing comfort over growth. This is different from wasting time, but it is kind of in the same category. This is more about the small choices you make every day. When you're choosing the easy route of going for McDonald's instead of cooking for yourself, when you avoid the discomfort of going to the gym and decide to just play an hour of video games instead, and you're staying where you are because it feels familiar. You refuse to go to that social gathering because it feels scary and you feel safe at home. I think this is where baby steps matter a lot, because if you do these small actions daily, that's gonna make a huge difference if you stay consistent. If you walk 10,000 steps a day for a year, and you went from 0 to 10,000 steps, that's gonna make a significant change to your body and your general health. And this is not something that has to be super crazy. Literally, just going outside for 20 minutes a day can completely change your life if you're staying inside all the time. And if you stack these habits, if you have a lot of healthy habits you do on the daily basis, they'll actually help you to completely reinvent yourself. That's actually what I focused on a year ago when I moved to Copenhagen. I anchored myself into 9 different habits, and actually I'm just gonna find the list because I think it'll actually be a gentle reminder for myself and also you guys on the things you might want to do. You can literally copy this list if you want to have a similar transformation as I have. This list encompasses the 5 pillars of: first, you cut and cleanse, you remove the distractions. That's the first bit, with the no adult content, alcohol, and junk food. And also you can add limit phone and screen time and clean up your environment here. Then you have the physical aspect with the gym and the sleep. And then you have the mental sharpening with the book, the journaling. You can add breath work in here, which I did. Then you have the social growth by talking to strangers and doing social challenges. This was at a time where I was invited to be a Toastmaster for one of my best friend's wedding. So I also joined Ultra Speaking Online, which is a place where you basically need to come up with speeches on the fly in front of people. So that's one way you can do it as well. You can do it online with people from different communities. And then I had the financial thing where I was building Newsphere actively, and I actually saw a lot of growth during that time. And I was working on a business plan, which has actually emerged into what I'm building now, where I help people build their personal brand. So these are the kind of things you can change just by having a simple daily list that matches what you want to change in your life and where you want to go. Mistake number 5 is letting the wrong people influence you. You have to be really careful who you keep close to you in your life. There's this saying that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around, something like that. That is very true. If you hang around people who love drinking alcohol, taking this back to mistake number 10, you are most likely also gonna be the person who are gonna drink with those guys. If you're in groups that game a lot all the time as the only kinds of entertainment, you'll probably be playing a lot of video games too. If you hang around business groups where they are actively talking about how to build offers that change people's lives, how to make good content, you'll probably be inspired to make good content too and build an offer that changes people's lives. I'm saying this because this is literally 3 examples from my own life with some people I've hung around. And it is so much easier having people that are working on similar goals to you and are actually pushing you forward, inspiring you, rather than saying, oh really, you gotta work again? Why don't you come drink with us? That work is just gonna waste your 20s. People like that, you might not think they're doing it to drag you down. You might think they just want company. They just want to have fun with you. And that is true, but they are also in the process of that dragging you down if that's not your goal, if you're going somewhere else. So really think about who you have in your life, and if there's some people you actively want to spend more time with. You don't have to cut those less ideal people out of your life. I just spend less time with them, honestly, and spend more time with the people that are working towards something similar to myself, which also tends to be the people I have the most fun with, since we are more on the same wavelength. Mistake number 4, and now we're getting into some really good stuff, is letting your body fall apart. This is one that people massively underestimate. In your 20s, you have high energy, high recovery, you have lots of time, and a lot of people waste that. I've seen it with friends slowly getting out of shape, them being less active, them not caring about their looks so much anymore, getting a bit lazy with their body, not realizing that if they don't really do the work now, it's going to be so much more difficult in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm really proud of what I've done. I don't think I have good genetics in terms of weight training and strength training. I spent a lot of time working up to numbers that have honestly taken some other people like a quarter of the time to get to. But at this point, people are telling me, you have a great body, you're big. I noticed a spike in my well-being when I really started taking this seriously myself. My eating habits and also having a consistent gym routine, it changes a lot of things. Typically, the people that have a consistent exercise routine, that eat well, that take care of their body, you'll notice that their head tends to be pretty clear and pretty good too. There's a massive correlation between the physical and the mental. So if your mental health is completely in shambles, you most likely don't leave the house that much, and you most likely don't exercise on a regular basis, you most likely eat shit foods. And if you're in your 20s and you feel like this already, oh boy, it's only gonna get worse. So for this point, let me leave you with this one sentence. Your body is one of the few assets you carry into every area of your life. So if you don't have your body and your health, everything's gonna be in shambles. Now, mistake number 3 is chasing the wrong path blindly. For me, this was chemistry, because I was pretty good at it already from high school, even though I wasn't deeply passionate about it, because it was like the best of the options I had exposure to at the time, but I hadn't really explored what I really wanted, and it made me really doubt a lot of things. But that doubt never became strong enough that I quit studying chemistry at university. And honestly, that degree that I got has not been that useful to me. It's been a struggle to find a job. My first job took me 21 months after university, and it wasn't really a true chemistry job, it was a lab technician job. So I personally had a lot of struggle with it. It was fun during uni, because I had all the social stuff, all the parties, the dorm life. That was great, honestly, I loved it back then. But just the degree itself and the path it gave me afterwards, for me it wasn't really fulfilling, and it forced me to actually build something on the side. In the beginning it was photography. I proved that I could live off of it. It wasn't flexible enough for my personal wants, which is why I'm building this thing online. When I say this thing, it's not specifically this YouTube channel, it's actually more so the business on the back of it, where I help people build a personal brand that I occasionally mention here in the channel. But that's also something I'm grateful for, that choosing chemistry forced me to also look in other directions, because it was so difficult to get a job, and the jobs I have gotten so far, they've locked me in a laboratory without so much flexibility. So even though the work has many times been pretty fun, like I've had some fun experiments in the lab and some good times, long term I just want way more flexibility, and I want to be able to scale my personal income, which I can't do just by working in a laboratory. I will never be able to get enough raises for the time I work in order for me to truly be worth it. So long term I do want to have my own thing. That is the goal, and that is what I'm working towards here in 2026. So my advice to you is really consider the path you take, especially if you go to uni. I would advise you to take a sabbatical and really use that sabbatical to try to get exposure to as many things as possible. You should be trying to study a new thing every single month for at least 12 months, in my opinion, to get an idea of 12 different things that could potentially interest you until you find something where you're like, this is it. I love this. I want to dive more into this. And it might be the first thing you try. It might be the 12th thing you try. But I urge you to at least spend a bit more time here, because I didn't do that. I just tried to speedrun the education system of getting a master's degree before anyone else at age 23, which is in Denmark really, really early to have a master's degree. Mistake number 2 is building nothing of your own, which is essentially an extension of what I just talked about. Even if you've taken the default path and studied something at university that you actually really liked, I think you're doing yourself a disservice in 2026 with the way the job market is and the world is right now if you're not building something for yourself. It just really exposes you to a lot of risk if you don't have anything else. And I've tried to do this multiple times. The main thing I've done is really build a little personal brand a couple times. I mentioned this in I'm begging you to build a personal brand, seriously. In that video I mentioned the 3 main personal brands I've built, which is a guitar brand, a photography brand, and this YouTube channel. And every single time I did that, doors were opening to me. It could be gigging opportunities with guitar, with photography. It was clients that I worked with. This YouTube channel is now also clients, but also YouTube monetization that I'm getting. Even though I am not completely free in terms of where I'm not at the point where I want to be with my business goals to actually freely live off an online business, I still have so much leverage now that I've built these things on the side, and so many opportunities compared to when I didn't have any of this, when I only had my job and only had my education. And just to give you a list of some things you can potentially get when you start your own personal brand, it can be new friends, new opportunities, money, clients, direction, having your own journey documented, proof of work, optionality. And actually, by the way, if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want to build my own personal brand, you can just literally DM me on Instagram. This is what I help people with. And I'm currently offering a free coaching call for anyone who wants to kickstart their personal brand or want to get their first couple clients. So shoot me a DM on there. My link to my Instagram is in the description of the video down below. Now let's get to mistake number 1. And I think mistake number 1 is choosing the wrong relationship too early. Let me explain. I've seen a lot of people that have, in my opinion, jumped too quickly into a serious commitment, moving in together, getting married, and build a life with someone they barely understand. It seems like they were just speedrunning the whole process. And for what? For social validation? Pictures for social media? A big party? It seems like they were just choosing people out of scarcity. Some people, they do meet their high school sweetheart, and it just seems like the right thing, and they live happily ever after. That's awesome when that happens. The thing is, in today's modern society, 50% of marriages they end in divorce, and 90% of relationships that start before 30, they fail. Just think about those numbers for a second. The more you work on yourself and know what you want and improve your ability to read people and understand people, the better you can also sense whether or not a relationship is good for you. And if the person you're considering a serious commitment with is somebody who actually adds to your life in a positive and meaningful way. I'm not saying that relationships, they have to last forever. I'll be honest, I think I probably waited a bit too long to have my official first girlfriend, which was at age 28, which is still the person I'm with today, because I spent most of my 20s just dating around. Because honestly, I've had to learn a lot of relationship skills within this first relationship of mine, but I've also found a really, really nice person that has values that I align with, and we have moved in together. And of course, we are building a life together at this point. But it really have come from a lot of journaling, a lot of thinking, a lot of feeling, is this thing right for me? So I'm just telling you that before you get somebody pregnant at age 22, because you feel like this is the greatest person in the world, just really consider where this puts you. Because even moving in together has removed a lot of freedom for me. We don't live in the biggest apartment. When I'm taking call with clients and potential clients, I have to consider that sometimes my girlfriend wants to study. I am quite loud when I speak, so she can't really study when I'm having these calls. So we need to coordinate who's gonna be outside the house when I'm having calls. For example, is that me? Am I taking a call from a coffee shop, or am I taking it at home? And this is literally like a small commitment. Think about if you also had kids. Or you bought a house and now you need to fix the house a lot of the time. That's some food for thought. I want to round this video off by saying that your 20s are not about being perfect. It's okay to mess up, and that's actually completely normal. But if you avoid a few catastrophic mistakes, and also some of the slow burn ones we've talked about in this video, your life looks very different by the time you hit 30. I'm really grateful at the age of 30 with what I have in my life. There's still a lot to learn and a lot of things I want to achieve. But man, if I had made some more mistakes than some I've mentioned in this video, I would not be where I was today. Just very grateful for both the mistakes that I've learned from, but also some of the right decisions I've made, some of the traps that I've managed to somehow avoid. So my final tip to you here is, go make mistakes, go experiment, go learn, but don't make the kind of mistakes that quietly ruin your trajectory.